So we just practiced what I'm going to talk about. So if you're in a place where you're feeling connected to Source, you don't even need to listen to my talk because you just figured out or practiced what I'm going to talk about. Choosing love is an inside job. I'm going to set up the context of what I'm going to talk about because it's, I don't want to do that at the end or want to give you a little context. I took a hiatus from talking with you all because I've been working on my second book, which I've sent out about a third of it to some reviewers, so I'm getting things together and I'm feeling about 7 or 8 months pregnant with it. So it's getting close, yeah. This talk is from an excerpt from the book. The excerpt is in the latest Holistic Healing magazine, if any of you have seen that. It's called Choosing Love is an Inside Job. That article came after I wrote an article or a part of the book about a year ago when Charlottesville situation happened. And I wrote about how the response to Charlottesville should not be hatred or any kind of judgment, but choosing love. So that's a bigger part of the book. And then preparing for today, I needed to translate it into Unity Speak. So today's the Unity Speak version of all of that stuff that's been making me very pregnant and fairly uncomfortable. So what we know is that we have every resource we need to manifest love in the world. We all have it. We've always had it. It's all on board with each and every one of us. And we've been trained out of it in our culture, in the way that we engage the world. And so this time is the time of the great remembering, of the great awakening back into who we are and who we were created to be. The interesting thing is for years and years and years, this knowledge and this truth has been thread through the cultures of our world. We've never lost this thread. We've just gotten to the point that other parts have gotten louder and louder and louder. So every part of this talk today, I want you to test against the senses of your heart and feel the truth for you, because you already know all of this. I'm just going to do a little remindering. So we know that as members of Unity, Charles Fillmore is one of the founders and the essence of what we study and teach, and he clarified a lot of things. He reintroduced or put into a new higher priority this truth that we've known for years and years. So let's start with Charles Fillmore, or let's start with Jesus, because that's what the next slide says. Jesus said, before he gave examples of how to pray with the Lord's Prayer, here's his preview instructions. And I'm not going to quote it word for word, but he said, don't pray out in public. Go hide. Go find a place, a secret place. The word in Greek for closet that's translated here is like a storehouse or a secret place in a building. It's like in the middle of the building where everybody can, where you can go and be away from every external factor outside of the building. So he said, go find a secret place, a hiding place, and pray. That's what he said before he told us what to say, which is a whole different talk. But what we know about the word prayer that's used in the New Testament, it's pros okumai. It's actually a combination of two words. The first prefix, pros, P-R-O-S, is how it's transliterated, means to draw close. We use this prefix a lot in the English language. Prosthetic. What's a prosthetic? It's apparatus that appears to be like a human body part. It draws close to what it looks like. Prosecutor. That's to chase after somebody who has done something wrong, right? To draw close to a person, to the truth of what they did. Prospectus. If you do any investing, you would get a prospectus. A prospectus is a statement of approximation of what's going to happen with your money, right? So all of those have that same beginning, to draw close. So when Jesus talked about prayer, the first part of it was to draw close. The other part of this word, ekomai, etchomai, is a desire or a passion or a vow. Now, what we learned growing up, at least I did, in Christian churches, was that I was supposed to tell God what I wanted, right? That's what prayer is making a supplication of, here's my needs, here's what I want, why are you waiting so long? Come on, it's time, right? That was how I learned to pray. And that's a little bit in there, that desire or passion or vow. But I think we got it wrong, because I don't think it's our desire or our passion or our vow. It's Source's desire. It's Source's passion. It's Source's vow to us. Source vowed to us that we were created out of love. That's the passion. So praying means to draw close to the source of our being. Draw close to the source of our being is a literal translation of that word in Greek. So, do you think Jesus just came up with that out of the blue? No. He was embedded in the Jewish culture. He was a Jew. So, here's what Charles Fillmore said. I'll let you take a moment and read it. I'm not going to read it, but he says the same thing. He says, go to the temple of your heart and get quiet. Find that quiet place where you can connect with your source. Within to the Spirit of truth who is in each one of us. So Jesus didn't do this, didn't create this out of whole cloth. Jesus was Jewish. And the central component of the Jewish tradition is the temple. The temple where they worship, the temple where they kept the sepulcher and all of the accoutrements of their religion. This is a framework of how the Jewish temple was created. And if I could lay down with my head this way and my feet out this way, then it replicates each one of us. It replicates who we are. The entrance is over there on your right, where the arrow is. That's our head. That's processing outside information. We come into an area, the altar of burnt offerings. That's our processing of information as well. And the middle area is the holy place. That's moving from our head down to our heart. And then in the holiest of holies, behind a curtain, is the place where we meet God, in our heart space. So the Jewish tradition replicates our process as we come into communion with our Creator. So the Hebrew word for this space, this holy space, is Kodesh HaKodeshimai, Kodeshimin. And it means, it's translated holiest of holies. It's like the ultimate space. It's the same closet that Jesus was talking about. Finding that space within ourselves where we can shut everything else out so that we can be in the presence of God. That's not the only Hebrew term that's used for this holy space. The other term is devil. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. And devil is that inner sanctuary, the sanctum sanctorum. We've heard that phrase, some of us have. That's that same inner place. But this word, that's used probably more frequently than the other word, is derived from the root word that means to speak. So in this scripture that I've listed up there, that 1 Kings reference, there's a series of steps that is given about what the priest does when they go into the holiest of holy places and what his pattern of behavior is. And the fascinating thing about it is there's nothing in there about the priest saying anything. It's all action. So if this word comes from the derivative of the word to speak, then we have to ask, who's speaking? Who is it that speaks? It ain't us. It ain't us. So this is a space where God speaks, where we listen. We listen. We've excluded all extraneous chatter, all of our physical senses. We shut down and we go to that holiest of holy places and listen to God speak. And so what does God say? Well, you heard God a few minutes ago. You probably have a practice where you do this regularly. God speaks one word all the time. Love. 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 That's all. That's all there is. It's the essence of who we are. That's the essence of what we're doing here. Everything else is chatter. Diving into that place, deep within each one of us, the temple of our heart. We hear the vibration of God, and that vibration is love. So we did that exercise in our meditation. Here's some steps if you want to get back into your analytical mind, because your body and heart knows how to do this. So you extinguish all external stimuli. You go to that place, that closet. You shut off your phone. You tell people you're unavailable. You do everything you can to shut down everything outside of you. And then you quiet your mind. You begin to bring your consciousness from the analyzing and navigating the world. You bring it down inside of yourself, down to your heart space. You tune to your heart. You listen. You listen to the vibration of love. As you listen to that vibration of love, you entrain to it. You come to a place where you can hold that vibration. Hold that note. One of the sections of my book is entitled Enlightenment is Holding the Note of Love. So you hold that note, and then you come out of that space. You come out of the holiest of holies, and you open yourself back up to external stimuli, and you hold the note of love as long as you can. And when the note of love starts fading, or you start getting wobbly about holding that note, then your job is to go back to the holiest of holy places, to reconnect, to reinforce that note, and then come back out and hold it longer. Hold it again. Hold it in areas where, first you hold it in areas that are not emotionally activating for you, where it's easy because you don't get your humanness involved. And then after you get good at holding the note out in the world in those areas, then you start working on the areas where you get activated. It might be a family member. It might be a boss. It might be someone in the neighborhood. You begin to learn to hold the note of love in every circumstance. And that is choosing love as an inside job. It's our job. We've got to do it ourselves. No one can do it for us. We repeat until we and Source are one, and it just is always that way. So I threw up some of my resources that I've developed and used. I've got a Choose Love meditation, which is similar to this, the one I did before the talk. The article in Holistic Healing magazine, if you can't find the magazine, the article isn't available online, but I can send it to you, so just email me if you want to read that. And the longer Choose Love article is online. Already done that. Thanks. So you can read that. That was in response to the Charlottesville situation, which gives us a great opportunity to choose love, to start holding that note. And let me tell you, there's lots of people that are doing the same thing. There are lots of people that are moving in this wave of consciousness that's going to transform our world within this generation. This is it. We're on the verge. It's exciting. So, do not supplicate or beg God to give you what you need, but get still and think about the inexhaustible resources of infinite mind, its presence in all its fullness, and its constant readiness to manifest itself when its laws are complied with. Charles Fillmore. Or, he said more succinctly, be still and turn within to the great source, which to me is a paraphrase from the psalmist who said, one of my favorite verses, be still and know that I am God. Thank you all.